Newsfirst at 9. Headlines.
It's 9 p.m. and it's time now for this Saturday night's edition of Weekend Primetime News. Good evening and welcome. I'm Ramesh Bandara from the Newsfirst newsroom here in Colombo with tonight's headlines. First up tonight, the second phase of the Southern Expressway from Galle to Mathura declared open by President Mahinda Rajapaksa. The communication system of missing flight MH370 was deliberately disabled, a statement by the Malaysian Prime Minister. Also making the headlines tonight, TNA MP Suresh Premachandran says that if the government continues on its current path, they would be forced to demand the UN to provide security for the Tamil people. And finally, US warns of sanctions as Russia vows to support Crimea referendum. Newsfirst has all the details of these stories and much more. We now cross over to the main news studio where Nicola is standing by.
Thank you, Ramesh. A very good evening to you. I'm Nicola De Zoiza. Let's start off with one of our top stories for today. The second phase of the Southern Expressway from Galle to Mathura was vested in the public this evening by President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
The President and his entourage made their way from Pinnaduwa entry point in Galle and engaged in religious observances. Subsequently, a group including President Mahinda Rajapaksa travelled along the expressway and met with the public at the Imaduwa, Kokmaduwa and Godagama intersections. Phase 2 of the Southern Expressway is 32 kilometers long and was constructed at a cost of $180 million or 80 billion rupees. Phase 2 consists of 4 lanes and vehicles and can drive up to speeds of 100 kilometers per hour. President Rajapaksa thereafter unveiled a commemorative plaque at the Godagama Nilvala entry point. The Southern Expressway is Sri Lanka's first expressway, and with the opening of the second phase, the 126 kilometers long expressway links Colombo and Mathura with a travel time of 1 hour and 20 minutes. President Mahinda Rajapaksa also distributed prizes to the winners of art and essay competitions held among students of Mathura on the topic of the expressway.
දැන් හදන රටට එල්ල කරලා යෝජනා ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා.
Resolutions are being presented against the country. They are impatiently waiting for the dawn of the 28th. What will be the outcome of this? What will happen a week after this? They are telling these things to the government. They are saying that the recommended policy is incorrect. They are saying that there is no good governance over here. They are even against the elections. They say that holding this election will have an adverse effect on democracy. That is a new topic they are talking of. We remember how elections were held in these areas in the past. We remember what happened after the elections as well. So in this backdrop, when they don't have anything to say and when they lose their crowds, they wait for some sort of international influence. Not only that, they also engage in politics where they personally sling mud at us.
බලපෑම් සිදු වෙනකම් ඔවුන් බලාගෙන ඉන්නවා විතරක් නෙවෙයි පෞද්ගලිකව මඩ ගහමින් තම දේශපාලන කටයුතු කරන්න යනවා.
Welcome back to the news. You're watching News First. Now, it's been a week since Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 with 239 passengers and crew on board disappeared without a trace. The latest leads in the search for the missing jetliner suggest that the plane turned west and then flew for a certain amount of time after its last confirmed location. Newsfirst has been closely monitoring every single development surrounding the missing jetliner. Let's cross over to Ramesh Bandara, who together with the Newsfirst International Desk has a more detailed and comprehensive report on the developments. Over to you, Ramesh.
Well, thank you, Nicola. Well, there have been certain developments on the fate of missing Malaysian Airlines flight MH370. We heard from investigators yesterday that this flight could have been hijacked, and the theories that are coming out after yesterday go on to further strengthen this claim that this flight could have actually been hijacked. Let's take a look at Google Maps. We'll show you the path which this flight was due to take. It was initially due to fly from Malaysia to China over here in a straight line. However, it diverted off its northwestern path and headed westwards. So the latest predictions that are coming out from the international media and the investigators show that this flight could have ended up in this region. This is the South Indian Ocean region, or it could have headed off towards Western Europe, towards Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, towards this border area. These are the latest theories that are being circulated by the international media as well as the investigators who are investigating into the disappearance of this flight MH370 Malaysian Airlines flight. Now, speaking at a media briefing earlier today, Malaysian Prime Minister Razak said that investigators believe that someone on board the airliner could have deliberately turned off the communication system, and this could have led to the plane disappearing off communications.
Based on new satellite communication, we can say with a high degree of certainty that the aircraft communications addressing and reporting system, or ACAS, was disabled just before the aircraft reached the east coast of Peninsular Malaysia. Up until the point at which it left military primary radar coverage, these movements are consistent with deliberate action by someone on the plane. Today, based on raw satellite data which was obtained from the satellite data service provider, we can confirm that the aircraft shown in the primary radar data was flight MH370.
Now, investigators have been able to find out that this flight MH370 actually flew for nearly 7 hours after it lost contact with the ground. The Malaysian Prime Minister, speaking at the same press conference, stated that they are looking into every possibility and focused that they are also looking into the whereabouts of passengers as well as the crew on board and whether they could have been involved in this incident.
Based on this new data, the aviation authorities of Malaysia and their international counterparts have determined that the plane's last communication with a satellite was in one of two possible corridors. A northern corridor stretching approximately from the border of Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan to northern Thailand, or a southern corridor stretching approximately from Indonesia to southern Indian Ocean. The Malaysian authorities have refocused their investigation into the crew and passengers on board. Despite media reports that the plane was hijacked, I wish to be very clear. We are still investigating all possibilities as to what caused MH370 to deviate from its original flight path.
Now, why are investigators suddenly focusing their attention on this hijacking theory? This is mainly because the path that is usually taken from Malaysia to China is a very commonly used path, and there are only two ways in which this flight could have gone off track. That is, one, if the pilot or someone who knows to pilot craft steered the plane off the course, or if the autopilot was programmed in a different way to go off course naturally. Now, because of this, the attention has now focused on the crew on board the plane as well as the passengers. Now, the residences of the co-pilot as well as the pilot of flight MH370 were searched today.
The suspicion has hardened that it was flown off course by the pilot or co-pilot or someone else with detailed knowledge of aircraft. According to reports, the experienced Captain Zahoui Ahmed Shah was a flying enthusiast who spent off his days tinkering with a flight simulator he had set up at his home. Security had been placed around the residences of both the captain and co-pilot.
Now, families and relatives of the victims of flight MH370 that went missing are still waiting for any word, any information on their missing loved ones. They shared these views following the press conference held by the Malaysian Prime Minister.
I have one big question. When did they really know this? Why are they only telling us this information now? Because this information already came out in Malaysia ages ago, including some information that had even come out on the 8th and 9th. Why are they only telling us this now? Did they know this all along? Or did they only find this out now? If they only found out recently, what work in terms of measures and various aspects have they been doing all this time?
You could say that this is good news. In the overall view of the situation, it is good news. This means that there is still hope that our relatives are alive.
It's very funny because if the MH370 you can turn back, it means because some country under the radar control area, so the radar can be scanned and be shown. But at the moment, no country, no other radar confirm. I mean, the airplane is run back or turn away in this area. I think this is quite very, I feel very not understanding and very funny.
Kita tertanya-tanya dan hari ini sudah.
Previously, we had been begging for information, and now that we are getting more information that is valid, I feel there is brighter hope in finding the plane as well as the passengers of that plane.
Para penumpang yang berada di dalam pesawat.
Now, search operations to locate the missing flight has entered its second week. CEO of Malaysian Airlines in an interview with the media said that they are not sparing any expense and they are not sparing any effort. They are doing everything they can to locate this missing plane and they are not concealing information to the public.
After 7 days of not locating the aircraft, it's unprecedented in civil aviation history. Now, this is a modern aircraft with lots and lots of equipment on board, and I think we and I think many others are equally puzzled why we're unable to locate it after 7 days. We are putting all effort. We have shared everything as a company we know to our next of kin, not only in Beijing but also in Malaysia. I don't think we're hiding anything. There's no reason to hide anything. Malaysia Airlines do not compromise safety. We will spend whatever necessary in order to make it a safe operation for our passengers.
Flight MH370 disappeared on Vietnamese airspace. Now, Vietnam was one of the first respondents to begin their search operations to locate this missing flight. Now, Vietnam has been searching throughout a week, and as it enters the second week, the Vietnam officials have said that they are packing up the planes that they have been using to locate flight MH370.
Air Force officers were seen covering parts of the military planes with cloth. The fate of the Malaysian Airlines Boeing 777-200ER has been shrouded in mystery since it disappeared off Malaysia's east coast less than an hour into the 8th of March scheduled flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. Investigators have increasingly focused on the possibility that it was flown off course by the pilot or co-pilot or someone else on board with detailed knowledge of how to fly and navigate a large commercial aircraft.
Well, those are all the updates we have for you for now on the fate of missing flight MH370. The international desk will, of course, keep a constant lookout for any update with regard to the missing flight, Malaysian Airlines flight MH370. You can join the conversation with us through our Newsfirst website, www.newsfirst.lk, and you can also join us through our Facebook page as well as our Twitter page. For the Newsfirst International Desk, I'm Ramesh Rugalbanda signing off for now. Back to you, Nicola.
Welcome back to the news. A media briefing was organized by the Civil Monitoring Commission today to create awareness on the arrest of a mother and daughter in the Kilinochchi area recently.
One, Mrs. Balendran Jayakumari. Two of her sons were missing, and Balendran Jayakumari and her daughter Vibhusiga, she is about 14 years old. They were agitating to ask the government to find their sons. But day before yesterday, 13th of this month, some police personnel, they went to a house. They were on the road. One young man in a black uniform, he jumped over the wall and he went into her house. After immediately this daughter and the mother, they came to the road. When they were come to the road, there is a police jeep and some police in uniform and some police in civil. So immediately they are asking her, what is your name? When somebody is asking the name, some of the police, they went inside. When they went inside, there's two firing sound, right? Nobody know who they are, who is fired at whom, nobody knows that. But the police told the judge saying that there was an LTT guy. When we went there, there's a metal detector and some leaflets were there. So we strongly feel there's an LTT guy, they were in that house, and that fellow shoot a police personnel, and the police person got injured in the leg and the hand. While the Geneva sessions are going on, the government wants to show to the world that there are LTTs still there. Actually, this is a drama orchestrated by the government and the army and the police. Immediately they invited 500 army. They surrounded the whole area. They checked all the buses and vehicles and everything. But till today they couldn't find that LTT man. But they have taken that lady and the daughter, and the lady was put in Busa, and the child, the 14-year girl, now she is in the child home at Kilinochchi.
Mrs. Jayakumari sent a letter to the Civil Monitoring Commission around 3 weeks ago stating that she was being tailed by a group of unidentified persons and that they are looking into her. They were frightened that she would go to Geneva and provide evidence. We will not allow terrorism to raise its head in the country once again. We have no need for it as well. There is a drug terrorism and ethanol terrorism in the country today. Instead of the government searching for solutions to these issues, they have arrested this innocent mother and daughter and taken them to Vaunia for investigations.
David Cameron
Even David Cameron is responsible for this girl because she met with him and handed over a letter to him. She is now being kept in custody. We are raising our voices to call for justice for this mother and daughter. The government says an LTTE member was inside the house and he shot them. Then this mother and daughter had been living with an LTTE member. The government says that there is no more terrorism in the north. 5 years after the war, how did a terrorist appear all of a sudden?
Meanwhile, a protest calling for the release of B. Jayakumari and her daughter, who were arrested in the Dharmapuram area in Kilinochchi, took place today. The protest was staged opposite the Vaunia bus stand. A number of Tamil National Alliance parliamentarians also took part in the protest. Police media spokesperson SSP Ajit Rohana reacted to the allegations levelled with regard to the arrest of the mother and daughter from Kilinochchi.
Kilinochchi Pradeshe Dharmapurami
A special operation was launched in Damapuram, Kilinochchi to arrest a suspect who is connected to a number of crimes. The suspect shot a policeman and fled the area. A sub-inspector was injured in the incident. Special operations have been launched to arrest the suspect. The owner of the house, this woman in question, was also arrested by the police. She was arrested on charges of harbouring a fugitive. This is an offence punishable under the Penal Code. She was presented before court and detained for further questioning. She could be a human rights activist. We have no information on that, but she was not arrested because of her activities pertaining to human rights. Her daughter was also taken into police custody. She was not arrested. She was taken into police custody for her own protection because there was no one to accept her when the mother was arrested. She was presented before court and placed in probationary care.
TNA parliamentarian Suresh Premachandra says that if the government continues on its current path, they will be forced to demand the UN to provide security for the Tamil people. The parliamentarian made this statement addressing a media briefing held today.
If the Tamil people do not have any sort of safeguard, security, if the Tamil people are going to be killed like this, and if they are going to abduct, if they are going to take in the ladies to the Buza camps and things like that, definitely we will be pushing to a corner to demand the UN for security. We have to demand the United Nations to give some security to the Tamil people. If the government is going to behave like that, more and more they are pushing the Tamil people towards the international community to get security for their own people in this country.
Demonstrations were staged in several areas of the island yesterday against the proposed resolution on Sri Lanka at the Human Rights Council in Geneva.
This mobile propaganda campaign, which commenced from Tangol yesterday, continued its journey from Galle today. The program is organized by the Joint Trade Union Alliance and the Assistant Secretaries Association. Signatures were collected today as well for a petition with 1 million signatures against the Geneva resolution on Sri Lanka. The group that arrived from Galle to Sinigama then received blessings from the Sinigama Devalaya. Meanwhile, a group who staged a demonstration in the Thekawat area in Vaunia arrived at the Vaunia District Secretariat and handed a letter to the District Secretary. A protest march was held in the Kalmone area against the proposed resolution on Sri Lanka in Geneva. The protest march organized by the people of Kalmone commenced from the Mohiddin Juma Mosque and made its way along the Kalmone-Batikla Road. Thereafter, the group of protesters arrived at the Kalmone District Secretariat and handed a letter to the District Secretary.
Gammadda, which is a Newsfirst production which aims to create a platform for the public to directly voice their concerns to the officials and politicians, was held in Ampanagala Rotumba in Mathura yesterday.
The 8th episode of Gammadda was conducted in the Ampanagala paddy field in Rotumba yesterday. A large gathering was present to voice their concerns directly to Minister of Investment Promotion Lakshman Yapabe Vardana and other government officials from the Mathura district.
For 18 years I have been employed as a carpenter. I am unable to ply my trade. I have only 10 purchase of land. I visit the houses in the village and collect pieces of wood. I find it very difficult to live. There is
a certain distance from the reserve which must be maintained if we are to issue such licenses. That is why the Wildlife Conservation Department did not issue a license to him, because his residence is less than 1 kilometer away from the reserve.
Can I give you a place for a carpenter's workshop 1 kilometer away? You can establish your business there.
The Gammadda program, which was recorded live yesterday, will be telecasted on our sister channel Sirsa TV in the days to come.
Meanwhile, the 9th round of trials for the Super Fighter, Sri Lanka's first reality TV sports program, kicked off in Kilinochchi today.
Super Fighter.
Super Fight is a joint initiative of MAS Holdings, Newsfirst and the MTV and NBC media networks. A staggering 650 participants took part in today's trials to select gifted boxes from the Jaffna, Multivu and Kilinochchi districts. This was incidentally the highest participation rate recorded in this program thus far. A training camp was held for all boxers today that attended the program, equipping them to face the trials which will be conducted tomorrow to select candidates that advance to the second round of Super Fighter. The trials will be held tomorrow under 4 weight categories.
Super Fighter.
Parliamentarian Ravi Karunanayake today commented on the removal of bus stop canopies in the limits of the Colombo Municipal Council.
These are some of the bus stops that were built in the Colombo city via the decentralized funds of Parliamentarian Ravi Karunanayake. However, the bus stops that were constructed in the Ingurukade junction and in Totalanga through the intervention of MP Ravi Karunanayake were removed last night. Addressing the media yesterday, Mayor of Colombo AJM Muzammil said that at a time when a proper process is being followed to build bus stops in the Colombo city limits, one cannot erect such constructions for mere political gains.
It was mentioned that the government plans are being implemented, and as a result, how can a person basically decide as to how it goes on? In order to ensure that the DCB funds are spent, it has to go through the Economic Development Ministry, and any projects given relevant to each ministry, the money is allocated from them through the division secretary. So in this instance, the Economic Development Ministry passed the money to the Highways Ministry, who in turn passed to the Provincial Ministry through the Colombo Divisional Secretary. Now all approvals have been obtained by them. I'm asking, there have been 180 bus depots that have been installed by the army, where there are some of them are for physically handicapped. Now are they not being broken? Why is this sun love that is there to ensure 2 of the bus stands that are taken up? All we can basically do is the CMC had many assets under their control. Vihara Mahadevi Park, the race course, and many other things. The toilets that have suddenly been taken by CMC given on to the UDA when the government is run out of breath. This type of political flirts only give oxygenize to the government.
Here are some of the views expressed on the election stage as the Western and Southern Provincial Council elections draw closer.
This is the first and the last, and not to mention the best opportunity for you to elect the right politician into the Provincial Council, because it is certain that no one from Central Colombo will cast their vote for the UNP or the JVP. Let me emphasize that the people of Central Colombo will this time around cast their vote for the UPFA.
Provincial councils are a complete failure. They should appear on behalf of you, but what they do is tour the country, sell their vehicle, even take their insurance, buy laptops and engage in thievery. It would be bearable if they represented the people, their proposals and grievances. Provincial councils are unnecessary to the country and therefore should be dissolved. But whatever said and done, it is there today. We cannot dissolve it just because we are not in favor of it. Neither will it be dissolved if we abstain from participating in it.
If there is anything that brings a black mark onto the children of D.A. Rajapaksa, I will not remain on this political stage for one more second. I will not remain in this ministerial position if there is any wrong done on my part. That is the characteristic of the people from Ruhuna. So as a strong believer of Buddhism, I will not leave Kalnia. I will serve the people of Kalnia.
They are angered. They have lost hope. They are scared of defeat. That is why they have begun attacking us. The UNP is powerless. It is the JVP that is accepting challenges. The JVP has become the main challenger to the government today. The government is frightened by our challenge.
They said there is a major issue against the government and that sanctions might be imposed on the country. They were saying that there will be a major challenge before the elections. Today they are saying that there is no such issue and this isn't such a big deal. They also say that this won't affect us internationally. Frankly, no one is speaking of Geneva now. I feel that Ranil Wickremesinghe is the 4th Rajapaksa sibling. He would be better off named Ranil Rajapaksa. Why? Because all what Ranil Wickremesinghe does day and night is chase away all the UNPers.
Leader of the Democratic Party Sarath Fonseca says that the government is depicting the minor staff of his party as superior figures. He made this statement at an election rally held in Colombo today.
State television has depicted the staff who washes the pots and pans in our party as its superiors. This shows how bankrupt they are. Former provincial councillors of the government even came to us asking for nominations, but we didn't give them. We are confident that this country can be changed with new faces rather than the superiors in the government and other parties.
Meanwhile, Deputy Minister of Investment Promotion Faiza Mustafa expressed the following views at a public meeting held in Maradana yesterday.
When armies marched on the Kandyan kingdom, Ahalepola Adhikaram was the chief minister of the king. He did not side with the nation, instead he sided with the English. King Ravana's brother Vibhishana did not take his side. He aided the invading force of Rama. I do not know if all these people are one. Vibhishana died and he could have been reborn as Kuveni. She in turn could have been reborn as Ahalepola Adhikaram. I believe Ranil Wickramasinghe is his reincarnation. Today the so-called elephant, the UNP, does not have a leader, but there is a leadership council. There is only one driver in a three-wheeler, but UNP is driven by 7 or 8 drivers. Today the UNP is looking for second place. When they speak to us, they challenge us by saying that they will obtain at least 1 seat more than the previous election. We would like to wish good luck to the UNP in being the opposition in this country forever. At this moment, I only hope and pray that Ranil Wickramasinghe remains as the opposition leader.
In more local news, United People's Freedom Alliance Kampha district candidate Attorney at Law Susara Dinal attended a public rally in the Adiambalam area in Katunayaka yesterday.
You have 3 preferential votes, so there is no issue in casting a vote to a candidate who has worked for your sake, worked for your area and who has been with you right along. It is your responsibility to vote for such persons. I have a principle where I will not beg for votes on the election stage. Cast the other 2 votes for someone who could do something for your future, individuals who do not have a checkered past. Analyze who these people are and cast your remaining votes for them.
Provincial Council candidate from the Colombo district SM Marika held a public rally in Dehiwala yesterday.
People who are prepared to cast their vote against thievery and making Sri Lanka the drugs hub of Asia could hear this message very soon. They will say that the Western countries are trying to devour Sri Lanka through Geneva, and if you don't want to betray the country, you should vote for the alliance. This is a complete lie. Just because you vote for the government in the provincial council polls does not mean that the resolution in Geneva will be withdrawn. What the people should do is send a clear message on the 29th that the people are against this government, which violates human rights, which destroys the education of our children, and which has stunted development. The world might think that Sri Lanka is moving on a different path, and it may decide to hold off imposing sanctions.
In more local news, parliamentarian Sajid Premadasa expressed these views at a meeting in Hambantota today.
The current government is intoxicated because they are driven by the greed of power, and they think that the people of this country will vote for the beetle leaf no matter what. So my dear friends, this government is under the impression that no matter what ad hoc decisions they take and what acts they do, the people will always be with them. I say that this is a very dangerous approach.
Newsfirst U reporters K.S. Premajayanta from Pitakote and Janaka Sampath from Mathugama filed these reports on 2 accidents that took place in their respective areas.
At around 1:30 this morning, an accident took place in the Baddegama area in Pitakote when a car crashed into an electricity post. 2 foreign nationals who were travelling in the vehicle at the time were injured and admitted to Kalabovila Hospital. A motor accident took place at around 4:30 this morning in the Rajanawatha area in Dodamgoda along the Kalutara Mathugama road. The accident took place when the driver of a car was travelling from Kalutara falling asleep at the wheel and crashing into a stationary jeep. The driver of the car sustained injuries and has been admitted to the Kalutara base hospital.
Secretary of Sri Lanka Cricket, Nishantha Ranatunga, confirmed that the national cricket team has not signed the annual players' central contracts for the coming year. The deadline for the players to sign the contracts was today. Previously, the national team requested the SLC to provide a percentage of the payment which is provided by the ICC for tournaments conducted by the international body. Thereby, the Exco of SLC decided on Thursday to provide a payment to the national players. However, a situation has arisen as the players had not responded if they agree or not to the decision taken by the Exco of SLC. The Sri Lankan cricket team is scheduled to fly to Bangladesh for the ICC World 2020 tomorrow. Meanwhile, in more sports news, a resilient batting performance by Royal College Colombo in the second innings ensured a draw in the 135th Battle of the Blues against St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia at the SSC grounds in Colombo today.
After being put to bat first, the Royalists were restricted to a mere 158 runs in their first innings. At 58 for 8, Thiran Dhanapala and Harit Samarasinghe ensured that Royal College Colombo surpassed the 150-run mark. Batting in reply, St. Thomas College Mount Lavinia posted 325 for loss of 8 wickets declared. Sanesh Dimel shined for the Thomians with an impressive 110. The second innings of Royal College seemed like a repeat of their first innings as they lost their first 2 wickets with a total on just 2 runs. An 88-run partnership of 298 deliveries between Hashen Ramanayaka and Randip Pathirana was the highlight of the Royal College second innings. Randip Pathirana scored 23 of 154 deliveries, while Hashen Ramanayaka's 96 runs came off of 328 deliveries. Royal College Colombo were 268 for the loss of 6 wickets when the game ended.
And that's a wrap of your primetime news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Nicola D'Souza. Take care and good night.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.